Hi, I'm Maz, and this is a Conquest battle report. So just a bit of background for this match and the next two is that this was at a local tournament. There were 400 Kingdoms players, myself included. There was a Nords player, a Wadroon player, a Spires player, and let's see, we had Nords, Wadroon, Spires, Dweg. We had a Dweg player. There we go. I didn't get to play him. So the next three matches are going to be from that tournament. My first match, as you can see, is going to be for Spires, and my next two, just a little bit of this, was 100 Kingdoms and then Wadroon. I'm playing the list I did an article about online a site, and the last two battle reports. So if you've been watching the previous content and videos, you've seen this list a couple times, and I was practicing for this event. Some things to know is that during March, there was a scenario update, and it kind of changed around how different model weights affected the scenario. So instead of scoring on turn 4 models, and you can start scoring on turn 2. This gives rise to more lights and mediums being relevant, because now they can score faster instead of just kind of waiting for your heavies to be on the table and then it's turn 4. So that kind of puts me on the back burner about how this list I built before March affects everything. But let's go over my list, and then I will go over my opponents. So I'm playing 100 Kingdoms. My Warlord is the Priory Commander. I'm playing this in Dynastic Alliance, what makes both the Priory Commander and the Imperial Officer my Warlord. But the Priory Commander is my actual Warlord, who has the Turn of Tide draw event. And my Imperial Officer is the secondary Warlord, just to get his rapid deployment supremacy. So we have here his stats: Rule Impact 2, Impact 3, Terrifying 1. He's got the first Blessing Supremacy, which gives Bless to every model in his warband. So his 2 units of Orders of Crimson Towers, 5 stands, 4 stands. The Imperial Officer is decked out with Armored Dominion, which gets rid of Cleave and Smite whenever anything's touching the character stand in the unit. He also has a Standard of Steel, what gets rid of Inspire. You'll still see Ophane's Roar on the Imperial Officer. That's actually on the Priory Commander, who has long lineage to take an extra heirloom, because this is the only way you can take an heirloom. But the Army Builder doesn't put it on the Priory Commander, so I just throw it on the Imperial Officer, so I have the rules. I have then a 3-stand Merc Crossbows and 3-stand Men-at-Arms. Merc Crossbows are there to shoot, Men-at-Arms are there to score. And then I got 2 6-stand units of Steel Legion with Standard Bearer and Drill Master. If you want to see my special rules, I'm just going to scroll down, and you can kind of pause the video and just have a quick read just to see what's going on. Now, let's go over and look at the Spires players list. So I named it Long Legs because he's playing a ton of Avatara. I'm not super familiar with what Spires are doing. I don't get a ton of games into Spires as I do into Wadroon or 100 Kingdoms or Old Dominion. So I'm not going to have a huge amount of comment on all the special abilities that this is doing, but I will scroll down after reviewing the list to show what those special abilities are. His Warlord is the Lineage Highborn. He's got Cleave 1, Deadly Blades, and Deadly Shot. This, I believe, is from his Legacy of the Arcs, or it's Pharematic Overdrive. He's buffing this guy Impact 3. This thing has 6 attacks in Clash 3. This is a very solid character. And then I think Pharematic Overdrive gives you 3 mutations. He just took these 3s, kind of super buffed him up. Or was it Attractive Pheromones? See, I don't know much about Spires, but I do know Avatara, Cleave 1, Impact 2, Support 2, Unstoppable, and he's got 7 stands. And he also has Superior Creation. So this one is his army rule, and all the stands in his warband, he can spend an extra 5 points per stand to give them +1 Clash. So Avatar usually Clash 2, now they're at Clash 3, and he did that for everything in this warband. So the 7 block Avatar, they're Clash 3. The 3 block of Avatar, oh look, Clash 3. His 2 5 blocks of Incarnate Sentinels, they're going to be Clash 3. Cleave 2, Impact 3. Incarnate Sentinels are real good, especially with their Evasion 2, kind of shoring up their defense rules if there's a ton of Cleave coming in. They have some kind of survivability, but also 6 wounds. Resolve 3 base. Like, these guys are very good for what they do. His next warband is a High Clone Executor. I believe the Marksman variant and his Bionic Hive give him a Barrage. So he's got Barrage for 22 inches. I think there's a little bit more there, but it didn't add into the army builder because sometimes it's a little weird. Tactical 3 gives him something. It's going to be down here and I'll look into it. He has a 3-stand unit of Bound Clones. They're just there to score for him. They're a medium. They're a really good scoring unit, and if he needs to, he can just kind of get into a fight with something. They're very much like the Men-at-Arms, but they have Evasion 1 and 5 attacks instead of 4. And finally, the big thing he took for the High Clone Executor is 5 stands of Marksman Clones, who are Barrage 5 at 22 inches away. I'm just going to scroll down so you can have a look at the special rules in his army. So if you just want to come back from later in the video to just kind of review what was going on, here you go. I do have to state, so this is a big one in this army. Pharomatic Override. He draws it on the character, and the target friendly regiment within 6, alright, so probably the unit that the character's in, gets to immediately perform a free out-of-sequence clash, volley, or march action. This action does not cause the regiment to count as having activated. My opponent does use this game, and it really affects me, and I will talk about that more during the round, or the gameplay. But let's keep scrolling down. There we go. Oh look, Venom. Gains Deadly Shot and Deadly Blades. Nice. Alright, let's see what our scenario is. For this match, I'm going to be playing on Bulwark. Scenario 8. We have 2 12-inch zones that you can score for center objective zones. 3 points each, and if you control both, you get 3 more points for controlling both. So, 3, 6, 9, that's pretty good. And then the other one is destroying enemy objectives. So, the zone closest to you has your enemy's objective in it, and the clone furthest away from you has your objective in it. So you have to kill the objectives before you can score the zones, and then there's a middle objective for another 3 points. No, sorry. You get 2 points for killing the enemy objective, and 3 points for killing the center. And then you get 2 points for killing the enemy warlord. 3 points for killing the enemy warlord, and 2 points for every enemy regiment that has been destroyed. Do we count? I don't think we counted up points for every enemy regiment destroyed during the round. Oh man. Well, good thing we went back and reviewed this. That's alright. I'll tally up the points later to make sure this is all done. You get to see it live. Alright, let's go look at the terrain. Here's the table we're playing at. One of the nice things that the TO did, if you notice, is that they added these little paper cutouts that tell us what each of the terrain do. In these pictures, you can't really see them, so I'm going to do the best from my memory to say what they were. The big one was this one. This, I believe, was hindering and difficult terrain. So if you went through it, like per stand, you would have to roll a 6 or a D6, and if you rolled a 6, you would take a wound. They didn't cause morale or anything else, but it was just wounds. But I also believe it reduced impact attacks when moving through it, and you couldn't inspire while you were fighting in it. So this zone is kind of a problem. It's also obscuring, just like these other forests, but these forests are just obscuring, and you can't draw line of sight through them. We got, I believe, size 2 rocks and walls kind of spread out over here. One of the things I do have to comment about this board, because this is the side I'm playing on, as you can see, my models are down there, is that this wall and the table edge is less than 9 to 8 inches away, so I can only actually get like a 2 stand wide through here. And same thing with this skull on the right side. I can only get 2 stands wide. That does kind of affect me in how I play, and I don't know if it really changed much, but it does come up in how I deploy to get around some things, because I want to kind of maximize my fighting front, but I can't really, and it just gets weird, but I will explain it later on when it becomes relevant. Alright. Let's go look at turn 1. So, here is turn 1. As you can see, my mercenary crossbows are on the table, and they march 16 inches up the table with the Imperial Officer's Vanguard special rule. The Imperial Officer doesn't have to be on the table for the units to benefit from this, so they just run up. My opponent has no lights. None of these guys are lights, so he'll be coming on with about 4 mediums next turn, or as many as he can roll on. But with that, I'm taking an early scenario pressure, because I want to get into the zone, and I want to get rid of this objective so I can start scoring that zone. And the the Merc crossbows are in a great spot to do that. They're currently not being threatened by anything, but my opponent is probably going to deploy his marksman drones and just rain arrows on my Merc crossbows, because this is quite a large open area for him to shoot at. That's the end of turn 1. Let's go look at turn 2. Turn 2. I automatically get in my mediums. They... what are the men-at-arms? He, I believe, automatically brings in the 7 block of Avatara, and he immediately just runs into the zone, and he's eyeing this objective. This is what he wants to kill, and he wants to start scoring that zone, and he's got this big block of 7, and he wants to sit here, because, well, I would have to kill 7 of them to actually get rid of him and start scoring this one. As I mentioned last turn, his marksman clothes come onto the table. He's not up far enough to actually shoot me yet, so my Merc crossbows put some shots into the objective, start whittling it down, and I think I just back up a little bit, just to kind of stay out more. My men-at-arms are just toe in that zone, just get their little toe in, and they want to stay in this forest right here. Because I don't want to get shot from the marksmen who are eyeballing them next, after the Merc crossbows are dead. Alright, that's the end of turn 2. We're going to go see turn 3. This is turn 3. This is when my list starts coming onto the table, and also my opponent's list has fully come onto the table, and I'm still missing a couple things. For my opponent, he brings on his small unit of Avatara, and his 2 units of, what are these? Incarnate Sentinels. He has his character, the Lineage Highmind, over here in this unit, and then he's got this wide one that he's just kind of hopped over his marksman clones, and he is going to basically just use arcing fire to shoot at targets over them until there's actual line. Also he brought in his bound clones over here. So things that happened is his Avatar that were back here, they just charge the objective, impact, and clash, bringing it down to, I believe, 1 HP. His other Avatar just run up the table. These 2 Incarnate Sentinels are up the table. The Marksman, I don't think, shoot at anything. I believe he just shifted with them, because he wanted to generate space for his Incarnate Sentinels right here, and also everything was just out of range and not really worth a shot. For my end of the game, I just kept shooting this objective. Eventually I'm going to whittle it down. My men-at-arms just still stay in the forest. I don't really want to lose them. I have my Crimson Tower with the Order of the Prior Commander here. I kind of don't want to... I kind of have a problem here, and that's... I have this min-unit of Avatar coming up the table. They're going to go for this objective, and then they're going to try and go for the Crimson Towers. I got these Incarnate Sentinels that are coming up the table, pardon me, and they're looking to get into the zone and contest me and start scoring this zone, and I don't really have anything around. My Crimson Towers kind of need to deal with both these threats, and they can only deal with one. My Steel Legion on the left are 100% just counter-deployed this Avatara unit, and if I was to do this better, kind of knowing what happens in the future, I would have deployed the Steel Legion probably here, over on the right side, just behind everything, or try to get them over these Merc crossbows. It's just one of those things, I didn't really have some good options. I need to start threat projecting, because he has all his stuff on the table. He's spread across it all, and he's taken up some really good spots to go into places, and I need to start getting into zones. I need to start killing objectives. I need to start killing his stuff. And also, my other 2 heavies are on the table, but that's okay. I can, wait the other turn and start getting into that fight. Another reason why I should have deployed this left Steel Legion over onto the right, and maybe just like forced all my entire army on the right side, is because this is the Imperial Officer with Armored Dominion, and it should have gone into the Avatar that are Cleave 2, or sorry, the Incarnate Sentinels that are Cleave 2, and not the Avatar that are Cleave 1. Just reduce more of those hits from my opponent, and I kind of did a bad counter deploy here. That's going to be the end of turn 3, and we're going to be going into turn 4. Alright, turn 4. Bunch of stuff happened. We're going to start with the Merc Crossbows. They just shot the objective and killed it. Men-at-Arms shifted over to get into the zone, and his Incarnate Sentinels just ran into the zone, and he's just kind of threatening me. One of my last card draws was the Crimson Towers, and that was because I'm just waiting for his Incarnate Sentinels to come in, and I want to hit them to deal like a ton of damage to try and get rid of these guys, because I need... The big 4 I need to kill are this unit of Incarnate Sentinels, this unit of Incarnate Sentinels, this unit of Avatara, and then this unit of Avatara. And probably in that order, but I start having problems. His marksmen, I believe they shoot my men-at-arms because he couldn't see my Crimson Towers from where he was, so he just takes some pot shots into them. My Steel Legion on the left, I think I long bomb a charge. I think, I don't know what the number was anymore, but it wasn't too bad. It might have been a 5 or a 4 with a reroll, but I believe I failed, and I just stopped short of getting there. My opponent doesn't do anything to, counter it, because he did kill the objective, and was just like, oh, just sit. Actually, no. He killed the objective, and then he moved back an inch to make my charge even longer, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, try and do it anyway. Because it would have been a march charge, or, next turn it's just gonna be a charge in, so it wasn't too bad of trying to go for it earlier. But this is where we're at. His Bound Clothes just come up the table. I counter-deployed for across from the Bound Clothes the second unit of Crimson Tower, and as you can see on the side there, that they're in their 2 block, so there's a 4 square right here. And their whole thing is just, hit these Bound Clones, and then try and hit these Avatara, while the Avatar are fighting the Steel Legion. The right side. Okay, let's talk about this. My opponent, as mentioned before during the list building, used his Ferromantic Overdrive to get a free march action. So he was back... Let's just change the color. He was back here. So he free marches 7 up. Before he done all that, I was looking for how to deploy my second unit Steel Legion. And my reinforcement line was about here based on the Crimson Tower heavy. So I march my Steel Legion off the side, from the side of the board, and then turn to rotate them so that I can, flip project. And I was about 15 inches away from his Incarnate Sentinels. So, if he marched and then he charged, he would have just done impact attacks. I Steel Legion would have taken it, and then its next turn I can just hit him and just wail on him, get that big hit in, reduce the Incarnate Sentinels. However, my opponent was waiting for this. He was really putting those Incarnate Sentinels to the very end, and he activated his character first after my Steel Legion had deployed, because I need to get my Steel Legion to reinforce this side to start fighting these Incarnate Sentinels, start fighting these Incarnate Sentinels. I need that Steel Legion ram. But he gets that march off, and then he activates the unit, and then he just charges in, because he's now only 8 inches away, does a bunch of impacts, does a bunch of clashes, just wipes the entire unit of Steel Legion. So he took an entire unit of Steel Legion for free. And this is really bad for me, because now I'm down a unit that hasn't done any work, and I now know and understand that ability, and before I had never seen it before, and my opponent did really good by using it in this way. This is exactly what it's for, to have that extra distance. At the start of the game, we did go over lists, and we did talk about it, and I did see that ability, and I did read it, but I read it as, you're going to either clash or volley, you're not going to, use it as a march, but it was written there, and it's yeah, you can do it. With that, this is the end of turn 4. We're going to be moving on to turn 5. Here's turn 5. So, a bunch of stuff happened. We'll start with the left. Crimson Towers went in and killed these Bound clones. Steel Legion went in and killed a majority of the Avatara who were broken, and then they activated and rallied and fought back, but they didn't, like, oh no, 3 wounds. So I'm fine. But I'm winning this side and scoring this zone. My opponent, on the other hand, has got his Incarnate Sentinels into my Merc crossbows, killed them all, and then my Men-at-Arms just side-charged a bunch of Incarnate Sentinels to just do some plink damage, try and tie up that zone, but he has 6 stands to my 3, he's winning it, so he's going to score it. He's also killed 2 objectives, and he's up on points. My Crimson Towers in the middle here finish off this Incarnate Sentinel, but he just clashed and then charged into my back because he needs to pin me. He knows. Everyone in my meta knows, do not let the cavalry charge you. Like, he has to pin. And because I don't have that unit of Steel Legion over here, I can't really do anything per se. Like, I don't have that additional support to, like, fight these Incarnate Sentinels, or come around and help clear this up, or, fight these Incarnate Sentinels and then run over here and get these guys to shut them down and have the Crimson Towers fight them. But this battle, I have the 3 front kill the Incarnate Sentinels, and then I have the 2 back put some damage onto these guys. His marksmen now at this point are just shooting into the side of the Crimson Towers. And with that is the end of turn. Yeah. 5? I think this is 5. We're going to go with 5, but it can correct me later. Maybe I'll put a marker up over here or something. Let's see what the next turn is, though. This is turn 6. Last turn was turn 5. I'm doing good. There's a lot of battle reports we got to get through today. Okay. What should we start with? Let's go with this big battle over here. As you can see, the Incarnate Sentinels reformed, spread out their line longer, and then murdered my Men-at-Arms and securing this zone. My Crimson Towers, on the other hand, got stabbed by Avatara, and then got shot by Marksman. I don't believe I used my Bless. I believe I forgot about this game, because I have a problem remembering of the Bless Supremacy if I don't see the ability on the sheet. Because it's just a supremacy that gives it out, I kind of have a hard time remembering it, because it's not written down on a character, like a unit that I use all the time. Like, I've proxied Ashen Dawn before, and because it's Bless is written on the card, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta use my first Blessing thing, because it buffs this, and then also supports all the other guys. So I just forget it a lot, and I do use it in other games, but I don't know if I should continue using it after this, just because of how many times I forget about it, and that you have to declare it at the start of the round. And I'm so used to playing War Machine where it's like, oh, it's the character's the Warcaster's activation. I'm going to activate my feat right now. And so I forget about it a lot, because once I activate these guys, I'm like, oh, I want to use it, but I've forgotten at this point. So that kind of sucks, and that's just a tie over from a previous game that I have to unlearn. But Crimson Towers, they're not looking so well, and you can tell they're going to die next turn. On the left side here, the left Crimson Towers just swing in, kill the Avatara, and then the Steel Legion reforms and marches. The turn after this, they're just going to do like a 16-inch march with double time and just end up over here. The cavalry's going to end up over here. Like, I sadly have to leave this zone because I'm behind on scoring, and I need to just start killing his stuff. I need to have some way to deal with all his things. And we're going to go to the next turn with that. End of turn 6. Let's go see turn 7. Turn 7. What happened? Well, his Avatar are over here right now. His Avatar started off, killed the Crimson Towers, and then they just did a clash because there was barely anything left on the Crimson Towers, and then just ran over here so he can get into the zone. And he then did he reform? No, actually, I think he just charged with the Incarnate Sentinels into the Crimson Towers because he wants my Steel Legion to fight his Incarnate Sentinels, because these two are going to be doing all the fighting to see who lives here. His marksmen are still hanging out. I believe they shoot into the Steel Legion, but they only kill like a stand and a wound. Like you can see him kind of back here. And yeah, as mentioned from the previous turn, my Steel Legion run up. My Crimson Towers here, their butt is still in the zone just to score some points before I get out of there. But my plan is Steel Legion into Incarnate Sentinels. Crimson Towers into Marksman. These need to stop shooting, and it's taken me forever to get here to stop them. Like, I didn't have really any good options because this front line just hopped and got into this whole mess, which just been a brawl the entire game for that zone. And that's turn 7 done, and we're going to be looking at turn 8. Here's turn 8. I believe I win the roll-off here, and I charge into his Incarnate Sentinels. I do a ton of damage, as you can see, and they were broken. But he does activate his character and rally them. Or no, they are broken, and then he activates the unit, unbreaks them, and then fights me anyway because I have the standard of steel, so he can't inspire. He does activate his character to try and duel my character. I say no because the Steel Legion will just unbreak next turn, and I don't want to lose my character in a duel against something that's like way bigger than him. My Crimson Towers go and slam into these Marksman clones. I forget if the Marksman clones did shoot at me, but right now he's stuck in with the Crimson Towers, and because of the reform rules, he won't be able to until he loses more guys on the side to be able to reform to bring his front to me and get that High Clone Executor into the front to actually fight them. But right now I'm just going to keep stabbing and kill off Marksman clones. His Avatara, they spin around. He's still in the zone. He has no reason to leave the zone because he knows if he charges here he's going to be out. And these guys he knows are going to be dying, and that's going to lose him points. That's the end of turn 8. Let's go on to turn 9. Turn 9. So he won the roll-off, and he did a ton of damage in the Steel Legion. They were broken, so that really sucked, but I didn't lose enough to get down to be shattered and run off. So they eventually activated, fought back. I didn't do a ton of damage to these guys. You can see like the bunch of health right here. And we're still around. His Avatar is still sitting, but what I did do is that I got the Crimson Towers, and they just slaughtered the Marksman drones. But there's still the 2 left, so that means there's going to be another turn of Crimson Towers fighting Marksman before I can, get them to help out, maybe kill that one or finish that off. Like, he's stalling me out because he's up on points right now. Like, he's as mentioned before, scored that objective, has this zone. I've left my zone. But in this battle report from reviewing it, we weren't counting armor, like, regiments destroyed. So I'm going to count up the points at the end, and then maybe I have to go and recount them to see what actually went on. Let's go to turn 10, because this is the end of turn 9. Turn 10. I'm doing really well, but this is the end of the game. Marksman clones, dead. Incarnate Sentinels, dead. His Avatar are still alive. Still in the zone. Still scoring. This game ends. I don't know what the score is off the top of my head, but I will show you the score in the next slide. Alright, here's the end score. That's a 20 on a spin down, plus 18. He's at 38 to my 27. It's going to be a little math just to see if we did it correctly. So let me just go quickly back through everything and add up these points, and I'll be back in a moment to talk about it. Okay, I'm back. So reviewing the points through the game and what we scored and killing regiments, because it seems like we didn't take that into account or stop throughout the game. My opponent actually has 40 points. Draw that on the table. And I actually have 33 points. Draw that on the table. I guess we should read the full scenario while we play. There's a lot going on compared to other games I've played, because different objectives are scored differently for their amounts of VPs. and that's fine and everything. It's just sometimes it's a little hard to track. Overall, with this game, I found my opponent really fun to play with. I had a good time. The Incarnate Sentinels were really tough to deal with. Them having 6 wounds and cleave 2, then once they get in there with their speed 7, we're just a brawl. His Avatar were also a really good choice as mediums that were effective in combat and also could score, and also being speed 7. What was pretty quick. As mentioned throughout the battle report, me losing my Steel Legion on the right side was a poor choice and kind of lost me that side pretty hard because I didn't get any work out of them before they died. And then I should have also countered my Steel Legion with the Imperial Officer to his Incarnate Sentinels on the right there. I believe my my Steel Legion with the Imperial Officer came on before where I knew where his Incarnate Sentinels were going because he had more cards than I did. Overall, a really good game. Thank you for watching, and you have a great day.